I'm going to talk about safety behavior and the vicious cycle. When we are afraid, we do whatever we can in order to cope and survive. From CBT, we understand that in anxiety, the fight, flight, freeze sensations are accompanied by the feelings of fear. The fearful feelings and panicky physical responses are generally followed by the behavior of running, lashing out, fighting, or hiding. The things we use to cope with distress are known as safety behaviors. However, sometimes what we do to cope, such as avoiding or getting angry with people, losing our temper, or drinking too much, can cause us to feel shame and guilt, which then again can lead to depression and hopelessness because of how we are beating ourselves up. And then we'll run away more or behave in more difficult ways. On and on it goes. So a vicious cycle is created. Therapist and author Margaret Werenberg said, "An anxious mind challenges you to cope over and over with the very things you fear and is circular in nature." What we do ultimately ends up maintaining and worsening our mood, making ourselves sick by how we interpret events that are going on, and then doing things that make ourselves feel worse. This is the vicious cycle that CBT talks about. Let me speak about dysfunctional safety behavior and worsening mood, how this connects. Because the ways that some people cope with their anxiety regularly, and particularly in this time of crisis, can be difficult and self-defeating. Here's some examples. We've already mentioned panic buying and stockpiling. This is because of the fear that we're going to run out, not be able to get what we need. This can reduce resources for others, which can then lead to guilt. If we've bought up all the stuff that's important, as we're hearing on the news, like masks or gloves, then they're not available for healthcare workers, and people can feel badly. Another difficult behavior is avoiding and procrastinating, which again, noted a lot of people are doing during this time. So not showering, not cleaning, not doing our taxes. I have a number of friends who said the papers are sitting on the table and somehow I'm not getting to them. The tension that comes from these behaviors we do to cope that can be problematic is heightened when we're confined at home with other people, with little or no privacy. So that can create more conflict and tension interpersonally. And unfortunately, the risk of family violence does increase under these circumstances of quarantine. The obvious thing that people think about as a dysfunctional coping technique is drinking too much or abusing other substances. It does give a temporary respite from how we feel, but definitely has long-term consequences. And overeating or comfort eating, binge eating, is another way that people try to feel better. In moderation, that's okay. But if there's too much of it, we're likely to gain weight, feel more lethargic, and worse about ourselves. So it has an emotional consequence. So we can see that COVID-19 is contributing to a whole range of mental health and behavioral issues.